Hey everybody, this is Jolly and welcome back to my channel. And I am here with a quick recap of week 3 of the 100-day project. And if you're unfamiliar, the 100-day project is basically a challenge to pick something creative and to do it once a day for 100 days straight to sort of build consistency and a creative practice. And so what I am doing is I am doing 100 days of mixed media Twinchies, which are 2 inch by 2 inch squares. And I'm doing them based on a series of prompts that I put together uh, that just sort of random prompts or words or ideas that I'm drawing kind of randomly from a spreadsheet. So, yes, so we are now into week 3, and I'm just going to go ahead and dive in and share what I made. So, day 15, the theme was bricks. This was for March 8th, and here's what I came up with. I This is one of my favorites of the week for sure. Um, so basically, what this is I just took another piece of another Twinchie of cardstock, and I used a brick stencil. Well, first I ink blended some I think vintage photo on the background to get it kind of grouty. And then I used a stencil, a brick stencil with some texture paste, and put that through the stencil. And then I used, actually for the first time ever, I used the Tim Holtz Distress watercolor pencils in appropriately enough fired brick. And I just sort of, once the texture paste was dry, sort of went in with a water brush and sort of hand painted each of the bricks. And then I cut one of the bricks out and I used one of my cabinet card scan printouts and put him behind so that his eyes were peeking out. And then I used some words from my vintage hymnal that I've been using, getting a lot of words out of. And it's I know he watches me, and just backed that on some craft cardstock and inked all around it. And here's what I came up with for bricks. And I really love this one. I thought this was really fun to put together, and I enjoyed it. And I love the sort of creepy eyes, looking out from behind a brick wall. So that was again day 15, and the prompt was bricks. Day 16 for March 9th, the theme was typewriter. And so this is where I ended up. And so the background is actually some vintage. It's a vintage paper that's sort of this like blue green. So I sort of played up the blue green and I stamped on it with a background stamp that I have that looks like typewriter text, and it came out very prominent. So I used sort of black ink, and it was just really prominent. So I ended up going over it with some white gesso just to sort of knock it back a little bit, so you can see the typing in the background, but it's a little muted. And then for the image, one of the things I picked up fairly recently was a typewriter, like typing manual, a vintage one from Jubilee Flea, and and it has in the front of it these actually quite large illustrations of different brands and types of typewriters. I'm a little bit obsessed with typewriters. I own one vintage one for decoration and one functional one and then lots of little, uh, pictures and decorations themed around typewriters. So, yeah, so basically I scanned one of those pages, shrunk it down, did my little clear packing tape trick that I'm obsessed with at the moment, and then just sort of cut it out and added it. And then these are the little cabochons that I make. And actually, when I started making them, the reason I was making them was to be faux vintage typewriter keys. So I just made some of these. I stamped the word type and made some cabochons. So again, these are just jump rings, and then fill them with glossy accents. So um, yeah, and again, this was one of those where it was like I made the cabochons, or I set up the cabochons in the morning before I went to work, and then by the time I got home from work, the glossy accents was dry and ready to go and finish up the. So again, day 16, typewriter. Day 17, the prompt was hexagons, and this was for March 10th. And love how this one turned out as well. This is a technique I do a lot. I actually was like, I should do something not related to honeycomb because that's what I do. I have this little hexagon punch, and that's kind of what I usually end up doing with all of them. Is I end up making it bee themed, but I just love how it came out. I love this look, and so uh, again, doing this challenge every day, you're like, let things be simple. Feel free to do a go-to technique. So, yeah. So this is basically, I use two different colors of. Actually, this was a uh, what am I trying to say? Oh, an origami paper. So like two different shades of origami paper, and I actually, obviously, because this origami paper is very thin, so I glued it to some craft cards, some light craft cardstock, just to give it a little more bulk, and then yeah, then added those on the background. I splattered them with gold ink, and then this is a bee stamp that I heat embossed in gold, also on that craft cardstock, and then found this uh, quote in my uh, cutouts from vintage books. The queen revealed herself. So yeah, I love the colors, how sort of the brown and the muted yellows and gold and taupes all kind of work together. And then yeah, and then in the back I had another option for doing this prompt was I have a Tim Holtz stencil that has tiny little hexagons. So I actually ended up deciding to use that on the back instead of on the front. And so that is day 17, March 10th, hexagons. Day 18, the prompt was crown, and this is for March 11th. Again, another favorite of mine. And so on this one, so the background is Florentine paper, Italian Florentine paper that I get from Kate at Inked Paper Art. And yeah, just sort of felt kind of regal, or, Victorian or whatever. And so I use that as the background. And then this is one of my scanned cabinet card guys. And then this crown is actually, so I recently purchased from Patty Lang at Sacred Mementos, several they're quite big flashcards with different things on them. And the front were all illustrations. And so one of those was of a crown. And so I scanned that and shrunk it way, way down. I did the packing tape on both of those to make it glossy. And so I used him and I fussy cut him out, fussy cut the crown out, put it on his head, and then I found this quote in the hymnal that I sort of rearranged, and so why not crown him King of Your Heart? And so because of that, I ended up adding. I have a little bag of. I think last year maybe I made a bunch of sort of sprayed backgrounds, and I had a lot of scraps from that. And so I used a tiny heart punch and cut out a bunch of hearts from it. So I just have them then to add to a bunch of projects, to add to a project whenever I want a tiny little heart. And then splattered the background with gold, and then just went around everything with a blue gel pen to sort of make it all pop. But yes, this is definitely a favorite so far of the whole challenge. This week actually had a few ones that I was quite proud of, a couple that are sort of but this is one of my favorites for sure. So And again, that was day 18, crown. And sorry for the sunlight coming in. I'm having to kind of film this in a pocket of time, and this is the pocket of time I had. So apologies that the light is changing a bit. But anyway, day 19, March 12th, the theme was the lilies. And this is what I ended up with. So this background it was an envelope that I got in the mail. And so I was like, oh, I'm definitely saving this to repurpose it. And so I used that in the background. Again, more gold splatter, lots of gold splatter this week. And then again, one of my cabinet card scans. I cut him out and put him on, and then I also cut out, so this pattern ran along the whole bottom of the envelope. So I cut out one of the extra ones, did my little packing tape tip, and gave him a little, I don't know, a boutonniere or whatever you would call that, just a little flower sticking out of his pocket. And yeah, again, this is a very simple one. And then this one, you can really see that I went more with a found poetry kind of feel, because these are definitely from three different books, but lose ourselves in the wildflowers. So um, feeling very springy, I guess, on March 12th, which is funny because here in DC, so I think Wednesday of this week, it was like the mid 80s, 85 degrees or something. And then literally Thursday, it snowed. The temperature dropped 50 degrees and it snowed. So it's been a very early March week here in the DC area. So anyway, day 20, March 13th, the theme is rain. And this is what I ended up with. So I just very recently got this tintype of this young gentleman sitting on a bench holding an umbrella. And so I was like, oh, well, I guess it's time to scan it and use it. And then for the background, so I put down a piece of vintage book page, and then um, I took a piece of this is the Japanese handmade paper that already had silver flecks in it. And I get this again. I have a monthly subscription from Chanel at Bitter Melon Bindery, and I just cut some little teardrop or raindrop shapes in that paper, and then put it over. And then it's kind of hard to see, but I actually filled those also with the glossy accents, so that these are actually a little bit raised and a little bit shiny, to try to represent the rain. And then I just went around the outside and around all of them with a silver gel pen, and I used the words "through the storm." So yeah, so that is again day 20 for rain. And then finally, my make for today, as I'm filming this on Saturday, March 14th, and the theme for today, day 21, is sunflower. And this is what I made. And again, it's interesting. I'm surprised how much I like this, I guess. I mean, it's so simple. It's incredibly simple. But I just feel like it all comes together really well, and I'm really happy with it. So this is so for the background, I have a couple packs that I got off Etsy of sort of William Morris style papers, and so I had a scrap of that, um, and I thought it would contrast well. So um, and then for the paper to make the flower, and this is just the paper flowers that I make all the time. If you saw my first altered cabinet card, I made a ton of these. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Um, but I've never done one in like specifically a sunflower uh, colorway, and actually don't have. I struggle a lot with yellow. I don't have a lot of things that are yellow or yellow papers, but I did have these. This is a piece of paper that was hand dyed by Louise at Timekeeper Crafts, that are a yellow, and I originally had pulled out a much brighter yellow, which I think you would think of for a sunflower, but I actually really like the sort of more muted, vintagey kind of vibe. I think it goes better with the background. And then this button, which I think is probably my favorite part of the thing. Um, I just love, I was looking for a brown button to represent the center of the flower. And I just think this one is the perfect representation of a mini sunflower. So yeah, just inked all the edges in yellow, made the flower, stuck it on the background. Again, more gold splatters. This week might win for gold splatters on makes. And then I found in my vintage word clippings, bright as the day, and I just inked around that in yellow and put that on and kept it again very simple. But I don't know. I really love how the color combination comes together. I love this button. Um, so yeah, so this ended up being a favorite, even though it was incredibly simple and something I do a lot, but I've never done it in this particular configuration. And I've had these papers for a long time and I haven't used them yet. So it was really nice to use the material that I've had but haven't used yet. So, which I think is what uh, partly this challenge is all about. So again, this is day 21, sunflower. And there you go. That is week 3 of my 100 days of mixed media Twinchies. I'm still having fun. I'm still making things that I'm really happy with. I'm also learning to sort of let go or just be content with the things that maybe aren't my favorite thing that I've ever made, but did meet the challenge and I had fun making. So thank you all for coming back and for sticking with me. And I will be next week with week 4 of the 100 Day Project. Thanks, everybody. Bye.